Hello and welcome to Watchin' Stuff, the show about watching stuff. I'm Nero, with me is my Canadian counterpart, WHYBOY, and yeah, we've been on a bit of a hiatus, sure, but we're back because, what?
We've been working hard, Nero. We've been working very hard on just doing our own thing for the time being because YouTube.
We've literally been doing the opposite of Disney because instead of, being lazy and rehashing, we're working hard, but not Disney. Disney's all about that laziness.
And we're gonna all the stuff.
And we're gonna see that laziness in full throttle because they just dropped the trailer for Mulan. They got Lion King coming out next week?
Yeah, next week I think next week. But yeah, we just got Mulan and we've been hearing all sorts of news about it. Like apparently it's not supposed to have Mushu in it.
That's good news.
We were the only ones that didn't really like Mushu that much.
Everyone else is upset, like, I can't believe they got rid of Mushu. Meanwhile, it's like, well, if there's anything you had to cut out, I mean, that and the cricket actually have no integrity to the plot whatsoever.
Yeah, if it was just those three bumbling like guy friends of Mulan's, then that would be totally perfect.
Yeah, it's really weird where it's like, obviously Mushu's there because after Aladdin, basically Disney had a mandate of you need the genie for every movie.
Yeah, you need the magical best friend character.
Yeah, you need the toy.
Yeah.
So your toy will be a genie, a dragon, a snow person.
So Mulan, just for a quick synopsis for people who don't know, is about a warrior woman Mulan who basically just goes to war because of her dad is very injured and such and can't join the army. So she disguises herself as a girl, goes into the army.
I mean, you kind of cut it short there because it's like, it's not even that it's her dad. It's Chinese society. It was like, you're a woman. Your job is to spawn babies and be a homekeeper and shut up. And it's like, oh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's got a whole... that's the main theme of the movie about just trying to prove yourself against these sort of societal sort of norms that Mulan had to grow up with. Which made Mulan one of my favorite princesses because she was strong, independent, and she could be both girly and fucking what you would call masculine, and it's all in one.
I have a Disney Infinity figurine of her.
I have one as well.
Mulan's great. I argue she's one of the strongest females the Disney Corporation has ever spit out, and that's considering how many they have. It's sad that it's two.
Two.
Her and Tiana, but you haven't seen Princess and the Frog.
No, not yet. Maybe sometime.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll make it. I'm sure they'll rehash that. They're rehashing everything.
Yeah, everything that makes the money, we gotta make more of it.
This year was what? Dumbo came out, Aladdin, Lion King, and Maleficent Part 2, I think, is getting a sequel this year.
Yeah.
All right, and then Mulan's next year.
Yeah.
They did Cinderella. They did Jungle Book.
Yeah. Speaking of just for someone who's just watched only a few of these, I've watched Jungle Book and Aladdin, and I was just oh, they changed at least little bits and pieces that made it more at least interesting enough. For Aladdin, the main thing was basically Will Smith's genie, and for Jungle Book they changed they changed sort of the focus of the story rather than just basically Mowgli goes back home to Mowgli. It just has to live in this society of animals because it made no sense that he goes back to the humans.
So we're going to dive into our trailer reaction to the Mulan trailer. We haven't watched it yet. Only thing we know is allegedly no Mushu and none of the musicals, which means it's already crap.
Yep.
So
yeah, watch it along with us.
Yeah, that should be good. Y'all set?
Yep, all set.
No, they got Connie right, because Connie's her horse.
Yep. We have excellent news. The matchmaker has found you an auspicious match.
It is decided. Come and sit down.
Wow, this is ungodly somber.
Best for our family.
Which could be good. Definitely a somber sort of aspect. Worked for the beginning.
Honor to us all.
And cricket.
Quiet. Composed. Graceful. disciplined. These are the qualities we see in a good wife. These are the qualities we see in Mulan. It is my duty to fight.
You know what? That looked pretty good. It looked like, oh my god, all those stupid things from the anime movie that held it back, they took it out here.
Yeah, but if you take out the music, that's half the charm.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. Definitely, if they kept the music in that,
It's not like Mushu had a bad song or anything, because Mushu didn't have a song.
But definitely Mushu was just interrupting everything. And definitely if they made the Huns more interesting, that would be also good as well, because the Huns were basically just be like, bah!
The Huns were less a character obstacle, and they were more of just a narrative obstacle. Because like it's a shame, because Miguel Ferrer, he was the guy who voiced Shun Yu.
Yeah.
And I think he does a good job with the performance. I think he does sell him as an imposing sounding figure. It goes great with the design aesthetic of the character. But like no one's going to remember Shun Yu as a memorable or iconic Disney villain.
Yeah, it basically makes more sense to basically remember in this movie as the Huns as the bad guys, not really Shun Yu. Because there's not really any sort of difference between Shun Yu or any of the other sort of Mongolians.
Yeah, like the idea, I guess, initially when they made the film was like, okay, another like stereotypical Disney trope is there's always a lead bad guy. It's not like a force, which really it's like it can be a force. It's the Hun army. Like it's not like their commanding officer really needs to be like, oh, that's the big bad you have to overcome. It's an army.
Yeah,
that alone is the big bad. I do think the trailer is boring. I don't really necessarily put that on maybe the film itself, because Mulan wasn't a boring film. Mulan was very entertaining. I guess they're going to try and be more somber with this, which Disney can't do somber very well.
Well, I'll leave that for the movie to be up for that, because it's not just exclusively like Disney themselves doing it. We have to focus more on who the director is and everything like that.
I don't count that when it comes to a Disney rehash, because the corporation is going to tell you what they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
You saw Aladdin. How many other scenes where it's like, oh, Will Smith's really good. Now be like Robin. What? Be like Robin.
But they also have the scenes where it's just like Will Smith being Will Smith in that movie.
Yeah, but again, that's what the whole performance should have been.
Yeah.
And it's not, because some studio head came down and was like, that's nice, be like Robin. That's what people remember. Be like the thing people remember. I'm half expecting, because this is just a teaser, I'm half expecting we'll get another trailer later on. Not like later this month, but like later down the line. I'm going to bet money. I think Mushu's going to make it in here somehow. I bet they'll fold on that.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's definitely like one of the most marketable things from the original movie and such. But right now, they're basically just playing sort of like the Game of Thrones, like somber card sort of thing, like focusing more on just sort of like the Chinese, like sort of societal sort of angle of things. Which, honestly, I didn't find the trailer boring. I just found it more interesting, being like, oh, they're focusing on the strongest thematic aspect of the first movie, and it looks more interesting. Because it basically focuses more on being a character piece for Mulan, rather than just being like, Mushu!
Well, that really is sort of a partial detriment to the original, even though I really do enjoy the film. You did too, for that matter. Yeah. The takeaway is like, there is a disconnect where it's like, the Mulan stuff is good. Her connection with her friends is good. Her connection with her father, her ancestry, that stuff is good.
Then Mushu, cricket, ghosts.
Mushu, cricket. Like, the thing is, I don't even mind the ghosts. The ghosts don't really bother me. What bothers me about the ghost is like, it feels like this should have been a more powerful thing, because it's tapping into like the spiritualism side of it.
Yeah, I more listened to Ghost because it's basically like it's just played all for gags sort of thing. Like every other like thing that's basically not Mulan related, it's just like a gag.
Yeah, it really is because like even what was the whole thing is like, why was Mushu kicked out? Yeah, you had a job protecting one of our own. How did that go? And the guy's like holding his own head. And Mushu sucks.
Yeah.
Like just Mushu sucks.
Yeah.
It's not even a matter of like he's an annoying character, which he is. Eddie Murphy is an annoying performer for that matter. But Mushu strictly as a character has no integral tie to the plot because the parallel is supposed to be he wants to prove himself just like Mulan wants to prove herself. The difference is that Mulan is being suppressed by societal norms. Mushu is suppressed because Mushu's an idiot.
Yeah, whose own actions got him into his own situation. Mulan's actions are actually productive in a sense, like trying to move forward. Like,
well, that's the thing. Like she doesn't just want to be a housewife. She believes that she can be more than just that. She's not just a pretty face. She's stronger than that.
mm-hmm.
Whereas Mushu's whole thing was like, I was the dragon for the family. Oh, like what happened that caused you such dishonor? I was dicking around and I got some guy's head cut off.
Yeah, so that's his own fault for ending up like that.
Yeah. And the thing is, the movie doesn't give us any context where it's like, maybe Mushu was trying his hardest and like it was something that was unavoidable. No, the movie shows you Mushu's a screw up like through and through, so it's not that hard to believe that he just botched this.
Yeah, because basically every sort of key point of the movie is like Mushu is the one that basically causes the issue, not Mulan.
Well, it's like he fakes the notice to go to war.
Mm-hmm.
He sets off the firework that gives away their position.
Yes, throughout the Be a Man song, he's constantly like trying to cheat for Mulan, trying to make her look good, which just makes her look really worse.
Yeah, which is funny because the juxtaposition to that is seeing Mulan step up from being like kind of meek, unable to perform the tasks, and then stepping up to be able to do it. That's the endearing part, is that she's rising up to the challenge.
Yeah. And then her
like comes in to try and be funny.
Yeah, it basically just cuts it off. Like what I'm hoping for, like when the movie comes out, because I'm usually more hopeful because I really the best case scenario for these sort of movies is like they do like a new spin on like that old animated movie, so it's not like copy and pasting that exact narrative again.
Yeah, well, that's a step up for like say Maleficent because they completely ignore Aurora entirely in terms of being the main character. She's still in there, but it's told from Maleficent's perspective of being like the dark fairy.
Yeah, exactly.
And in that regard, you're like, oh, that's different. It's still an unnecessary rehash, but at least it's different. Yeah. Jungle Book, it's not necessary. It's almost verbatim the same thing with a mild tweak. Same thing with Aladdin. Same basic thing, mild tweak. I didn't watch Cinderella because who cares?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just saying those mild tweaks in just those two movies still made them enjoyable for me. And I hope the same for Mulan. Like, the hope that I have is, like, I want Mulan to keep that sort of, like, camaraderie with the other guys that she had from the animated movie.
And for the love of God, don't pull, like, the, like, Beauty and the Beast actually made it worse in their rehash.
Like, what worse?
The whole point of Beauty and the Beast was the prince was punished for being callous towards this old woman who came to his door asking for shelter.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I'll give you a rose in place of shelter. And he says, I don't need a rose. Back away, you old hag. And he closes his face. And it turns out that it was a witch. And so she punishes him because she's like, your outside is going to match your inside. You're a monster on the inside, so you'll look like a monster on the outside.
Oh, you don't want them to undermine what's going to happen to Mulan.
Yeah, don't undermine the thematic.
Yeah, because what happened in Beauty and the Beast was basically like the witch, basically the fairy appeared inside the castle, be like, hey, Sonny, you want to give me a room here? I broke into your house. Get out.
It works. It works before because it's like, here's an ugly old crone asking for a room, and he blows her off because she's just some old crone, and that's the whole point. Is like, oh, you judge me by my appearance. You shouldn't do that. That's your punishment. Now you'll be judged by your appearance. Your outside will reflect your inside. That's why, in order for him to become the handsome prince, he has to become a better person.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, the live action was, old woman comes in, What are you doing in my house, you ugly old hag? Oh, you're shunning me? You broke into my house. I turn you, I cuss you. I cuss you into a monster.
No, Grimbo, back into the corner.
Like that ruins the entire narrative. It completely screws it up.
Yes.
Because you justified him being like, he had every right to be pissed off. You broke into his house.
Yeah, so how do you feel that they could really just screw it up in Mulan in that sort of sense? Like, what would be the worst case scenario, basically undermining their theming?
Well, having Mushu come back, for one thing, because, again, narratively, he doesn't add anything. He's just a toy commercial.
Yeah.
I guess having her... The worst I think you could do is have the guy save her.
Yeah.
And I don't mean, like he did save her in the other one, but she also took, like, an arrow to the stomach.
Right.
So, or I don't think she took an arrow. I think she might have got slashed across the tum-tum, I guess, from Shan Yu.
Yeah. Yes.
I remember she did get injured.
Yeah, then they put her into the tent, and that's when they figured out like that she was a girl.
Like, yeah, it's fine to have her get help from her friends, and it's fine to have her be saved by the guy, but you have to make it that she stands on her own.
Yeah, that's the key.
You can't have it, like, no babying.
Yeah, we don't want it to be like that Mary Sue sort of strong female character sort of thing. Be like, I'm the strongest possible thing ever. Look at me do the karate and all that. Be like, oh no, I got my arm twisted slightly. I'm captured.
Well, there's that. There's also the falling into the trap, like the Captain Marvel Marvel Comics movie, where she doesn't really have much either connection to anything around her. She's very removed from everything to the point where she feels like a robot.
Yeah. Like,
and then, like, the idea is, like, at the end it's supposed to be like, don't you see she found her strength? And it's like, it doesn't really feel like it, though. And that's the point, is that at its core, yeah, a movie is A to B to B to C in order to, like, tell a story. But there needs to be some kind of emotional resonance.
Because that's what just sort of drags you through A, B, C, and D. Like, the narrative
Well, yeah, because
the building blocks of that.
Yeah, like, it kind of goes back to, like, the criticism I've told you about with the She-Ra show that I've watched, where it's like, on paper, they're like, she's a strong character. And then you're watching the show, and my takeaway is, she's just sort of a Mary Sue. Like, she's made the commander of the guard. Why? What makes her so much more adept than any other soldier in the army to make her captain? And it's just like, one of the lead bad guys, like, really favors her for some reason. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if maybe season 2 they explain that more, because I stopped watching after season 1. But going off of the knowledge I have with the material that I've watched, that's lazy, and that's very Mary Sue-ish, because you want to see the character struggle and overcome. And that's the beauty about Mulan as a character, going back to the animated film, is she struggled. Like, it's not even that she struggled in the army. She struggled just to fit into society.
Yeah, like, the whole beginning basically shows her character, because she's all calm in the very beginning, but then she gets called into basically meeting the matchmaker and such, and she just doesn't know what to do. She doesn't feel comfortable doing that, so she has to write down all the instructions on her arms. She's basically faking throughout the whole performance. Like, the only thing that's bad about the beginning is that it's just that the thing is ruined because of the cricket and not herself.
And yeah, and that's the thing. Like, the strength would come from she screwed up because she takes shortcuts. Yeah. Which is funny, because the start of the film, you see that in her house chores. She ties, like, the bag of, like, chicken feed and, like, the stick and, like, the bone, like, to the dog. Mm-hmm. And, like, she takes shortcuts. But then when she goes and trains in the army, she's actually refusing to take shortcuts.
Yeah.
Because, like Mushu's trying to get her to do shortcuts, and she's getting, like, seen doing it, and she gets in trouble. And, you know, that could really be interpreted as, like, shortcuts might get you somewhere in, like, the, you know, quickly, but it's the improper way to do it.
Right. Like, you can get what you want with shortcuts, but it's not going to be seen as, like, you actually growing as a person, especially in the army sort of setting.
Yeah. So I think the worst thing you could probably do is I'm upset at the notion of removing the song, because Mulan was one of the few Disney movies where I'd argue I like all the songs.
Yeah, I feel all the songs, like, this is, like, probably one of Disney's best musicals for me. Because the musicals did get something that most other Disney movies don't have. They actually add to the story, they add to the characters. And each one flowing is more an actual narrative piece, rather than just exclusively being like, oh, wait, Wait, we've been waiting 5 minutes in a story? Time for a musical video! Yay!
Yeah, and that's my criticism about the Frozen angle, where it's like the songs don't feel like they drive the plot along because they do the whole like "Let It Go" is like the big centerpiece, and then after that they go and meet Elsa and they say like turn off the weather, and she's like I can't, I don't know how to. Are you gonna at least try? No. Oh, meanwhile Mulan, where it's like, okay, what was the one? I Want a Girl.
Yeah, I Want a Girl, and then also Reflection as well. It's like a lot based on just like Mulan's personality and such, and just trying to build onto that.
Well, Reflection is her like seeing herself, and she's like, what can I do to make my family proud? And she doesn't like her father, who suffered a war injury, can't go back to war. He will die. And for him, it's like, well, it's an honor to serve my emperor. For her, it's like the emperor has so many young recruits. He doesn't need an old man that walks with a cane.
Yeah.
On the battlefield. Like, that's insulting to your people.
Right.
It's like, oh, I still need to ask of you, even though you got crippled from the last time you served me.
Right, exactly. And then you have I Want a Girl, which is it's a much more sort of like narrative sort of like stopping point piece, where it's basically all the guys together basically say like, oh, I want a girl who likes me for this. I want a girl who sees me as strong and great. Like, war's so fun. Yay!
Well, it's not even that war's so fun. It's just that for them, the honor is to serve their emperor. And that's why it's like, we're going to go do this thing for our emperor. It's the honorable thing to do. And then when we get back, we'll get ourselves a nice girl and settle down. And then it's juxtaposed with that whiplash of like, oh my God, war is horrible. Holy crap. Look at this.
Yeah, we are in a valley of death. And that's what makes Mulan so strong, because every single like musical piece basically added something to the movie to basically add more to the emotional resonance of it. Without that in live action Mulan, it's going to have to work extra hard to find that emotional resonance through just dialogue.
Well, and the thing is, and this is where I think a detriment could come into play, if this movie keeps a somber tone all the way through, it's going to be like Man of Steel, where it's like you need to lighten up. Yeah. Just a little bit, because like this is Mulan. Yeah, we get it. Like, it is somber. War is not something to be taken lightly. You don't want to be like She-Ra, where in She-Ra, dude, they treat war like it's a gag. Like it's like a joke from like that 80s cartoon where it's like, oh, we defeat like the stormtroopers. Whereas with like the original Mulan movie, they showed you the tragedy of war, where it's like people died, man. Like there's a whole battlefield of like dead villagers. Like, you need that. You need that grit to it, but you also need a juxtaposition where you're like, you're also a Disney movie. You need to find your balance. Yeah. You can't lean all the way into one, because people get fatigued. Like, dude, try watching Man of Steel with me sometime. You'll get fatigue from just being like, oh, it's sad, like, all the time.
Yeah, that is sort of the main issue when it comes to, like, somber movies, because in a lot of cases, like, a lot of writers will basically fall into the trap of being like, we gotta be serious all the time, or our somber moments are just gonna look goofy in comparison. When in reality, if you basically become like an overly somber movie, you just become something that drags on longer and longer, because without like any sort of fun moment, any sort of like levity sort of moments, basically those somber moments are basically just the norm moments, and you basically just live in a somber world in that movie.
It's like sweet and sour food. You can't appreciate something sweet unless you have something sour, and vice versa. Because if you just have sweet, eventually you get sick of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing if it's all sour, you're just gonna get sick of the sour. So Mulan needs to be that sweet and sour, like it was in the animated one. Like the animated one, if I'm just gonna be strictly honest, like it's really good. It only just had bits of much sweetness moments, exclusively from like Cricket, Mushu, and such.
Yeah, but that's not even necessarily the sweet moment problem. These are the toys that the studio wants to produce, and they don't need to be here. Oh, yeah. Like it's the same problem with like Olaf from Frozen, where it's like, could Olaf have represented the dichotomy of like Elsa's connection to her sister and that innocence she lost as a child because she was forced into solitude by her parents because she's got these magic powers? Yes, he could have been that. He wasn't, though. He was just a toy.
Right. It's just as simple as that. He just wasn't that. And like it is true that it's more like the more root of the issue is just that it's because they wanted the toys in there, so that's why they're in there. But that basically that's just the opposite of the issue is just what I said. They became just the super sweet moments that basically incredibly offsetted everything else that was in there. Like the sweet moments that were basically with Mulan and the other guys and all that. Those were like fine. Those were like fine little comedic moments. It's just Mushu and the cricket add too much to it, which basically makes it offset.
I mean, yeah, no, that's really it. I don't know if I really have any more to add because like it is a teaser. I can only hope for the best.
Yeah,
I've always had a little faith in Disney when it comes to anything. Unlike a lot of people stay very blindly loyal to the brand, just to a disgusting degree where it's like they think they could do no wrong. I hope for a good film. I don't think Disney needs to keep doing these rehashes. I think it's proven laziness. It's proven stagnation because even the ones I liked Aladdin. I liked Jungle Book. I don't need them.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do something to such a degree where it's like, oh, I'm really glad I have this. It's just like, oh, okay. That's it. It'd be like going out for like McDonald's. I don't need it. I don't mind maybe having it once in a while, but I don't really need it. And if I'm being honest, I don't really want it. I'd rather have something better to eat.
I think that's fair. For me personally, even though I didn't need it, like I'm just more glad with the Atlanta movie when I was just watching it and being like, oh, I watched that. It felt like more like a sustainable Big Mac to eat. Be like, this is good every once in a while. I'm just glad that
I'd argue I could rewatch Aladdin, and I would like to maybe have us do an editorial on it because like there's good stuff there.
Yeah. And I even feel the same way with like the live action Jungle Book. Like I actually like that way more than the animated one. Because it feels much more focused on what the animated film actually was.
But that one also fell into the trappings of like, we have to remind you of that thing you remember. That's why it's like, why is Ka in the remake? Ka doesn't really do anything in the remake. Ka was like a henchman in the original animated one.
Yeah, exactly.
In the live action one, Ka's just there because Ka.
Yeah, exactly. Like it doesn't.
And that's the thing. Like, I don't want Mulan to be like, do you remember? But like, and I know people are gonna be like, well, you just said though, like you're upset that they're getting rid of the songs because that's part of the iconography though for Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Because like Disney's not good at live action.
Yeah.
I think you could agree with me on this, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like Mr. Magoo, Inspector Gadget. Disney does not make good live action.
Well, I'll be fair to it. Like those are from like the '90s and such. I think we should more list stuff that's today, sort of thing. Like in
Well, there's the Nutcracker.
Yeah, Nutcracker definitely.
Which I guess nobody saw because like, from my understanding is I believe it bombed.
Yeah, I can't really just list any of the big ones. Like the point that I was just going for, like, but to add on to your point for iconography, like there is importance to have iconography in there. Like even in Aladdin, there are iconic moments and all that sort of stuff in there that basically it would be weird if those scenes weren't in there. But basically, like you said, we can't have moments where it's just like, hey audience, look at this thing. Do you remember?
Yep. That's why like the Ka scene annoys me in the Jungle Book rehash because it just is. Do you remember? Yeah, but you could like cut this out of the movie entirely and nothing changes. Tone doesn't really change. Narrative doesn't really change. I mean, length of the movie changes, I guess, but that's it. There's like, I can't even remember what came after the Ka scene in the rehash. I don't know if like after that he ended up at King Louis because it still feels like there's another way he could have gone to King Louis. You didn't have to have Ka in there.
Yeah, I don't. I think he actually went to Baloo after the Ka scene, but yeah, I don't really remember. But just for Mulan, like I would have loved to have the iconography of the songs in there because they were such a strong point for the animated movie. But I am feeling a little bit more hopeful about the movie because it feels, just from the teaser at the very least, it feels like they have more of like the focus that they want to go on. I just don't want them to go like the whole Mary Sue route that we discussed because it's just sort of like for a very dangerous sort of route to go around because it will basically
wouldn't that be irony?
Yeah, it would definitely be ironic because like Mulan's supposed to be like the strong independent like girl movie that basically like a lot of kids grew up with, And now if Mulan live action basically pushes that too far to basically be like a parody of itself, then yeah, that's kind of ironic.
Well, because like the whole thing about her in the animated film is like she is so far from perfect. Like she's such a screw up.
Yeah.
So the idea of like if they made her a Mary Sue, it'd almost be funny because it's like, wow, you guys are so like chasing the political tail, like the political coattail, like the political rainbow of like strong girls. That's what's like popular in pop culture. If we do that, we'll make money without understanding like what makes them strong or even timeless.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be funny because it's like, wow, the original Mulan was about a girl, and it's like, yeah, I mean, these are all buzzwords: strong, independent. Yeah, these are buzzwords, but Mulan was these things. She changed. She wasn't the same screw up that she was at the start of that film that she was at the end, and she had to work hard in that army. Like, yeah, it's done through a montage. It's an hour and like 30 minutes, though. You have to take the time that's given.
Yeah,
you know?
even the song, they did pace it well enough to basically show the actual growth of her character still. And
it was not even just her growth; it was everyone's growth.
Yeah, I just like for the best case scenario, I hope that Mulan, the live action movie, can at least do even at least just a fraction of that. If at best case, I want it to be almost exactly like it has the same quality to basically be able to pull that into it, because that is basically like the real heart of the movie. It's showing Mulan's growth because that shows her strength.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but we'll just need to wait till the future for that to come about. Yeah, but I think that's it for watching stuff today. What do you guys think of the Mulan trailer? Are you excited for it, or are you feeling all meh for it?
Are you all hurt on the constant Disney rehashes? I mean, I know I am. I can't. You know, the funny thing is, they should just rehash the movies that weren't beloved.
Yeah,
and try and improve on those.
Yeah, that's it. Like, just take the Black Cauldron and just run with it.
I still argue, why not? Like, I love this movie, but Sword in the Stone.
Yeah, Sword in the Stone.
Seems like it was very untapped because it's like Arthurian lore and Morgan Fay. You have all that cool stuff, and it's just like we made one film, the end, and it's like, oh, feels like you could have probably pulled more from that.
Yeah, definitely was much more one of the weirder movies though, because it's an anthology sort of story, and mostly anthologies don't really do as well nowadays.
Well, I think the Marvel movies kind of disprove that, considering they're nothing but like sequels churning out.
No, but those are still like narrative structure sort of thing. Like each individual movie is actually a narrative movie. Like anthology, it's just basically like days in the life sort of thing. Like the first 20 minutes is just one story. Next 20 minutes is another story. Blah blah blah.
Oh
blah.
yeah, okay, yeah, I could see how that'd be. I mean, I don't mind that because like I there's a great movie, Trick or Treat, that does that, but I can understand.
Oh yeah, I love the anthology of Sword in the Stone and of another Disney movie that I love, like The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Like anthology is like an untapped market. It's just definitely hard to just market that to people.
Yeah. But be sure to like, comment, guys. Subscribe if you enjoyed everything. If you want to support us in any capacity, you can shop at our online TeePublic store. We sell shirts and stickers that help keep the lights on and everything going. You can also join our Patreon there. You know, that support gets funneled back into us, and we really appreciate you for stopping by. And please be sure to comment out what you think of the up-and-coming Mulan rehash or the Disney rehash line in general. Should they cut their losses and just call it quits, or should they keep plowing forward and see if they could maybe churn out something worth rehashing?
I like the fact that you used rehash so much.
It is a rehash!
No, I know, it is, I understand.
For God's sakes, it's literally they went over like, oh, look at all these DVDs already. What if we just remake them? Well, you know, if you just put those movies into a theater, you'd probably make more money if we're all being honest.
I'm sorry, the producer already ran away with the DVDs. They're doing it already.
Is he already gone?
Yeah, he's gone.
Oh man! Oh, we left the door open. Oh no!
Dang it! Well, we shall see for the future about where these rehashes go from here. But until then, we're gonna say be sure to tune in. ToonGrin.
And maybe maybe do like the Great Mouse Detective.
Ooh, that would be cool as well. Live action Mouse Detective.
I wouldn't be against that, especially if they made them into like I would go with Muppets.
Yeah, then John Favreau would come and be like, "My movie isn't made with Muppets."
You know the thing that's gonna get me? I feel so bad that if they did do the Great Mouse Detective, because it's like whatever actor they hire to be Ratigan, you're screwed, brother.
Yeah, you
could hire any talented person and be like, yeah, but you're not Vincent Price.
You'll never be Vincent Price.